Hello everyone, John Frausto with TopspinTennis.com. In this video I'm going to do an analysis of Dominic Thiem's and Alexander Zverev's serves. Both have big serves. Dominic Thiem is averaging about 121 miles per hour. Alexander Zverev has averaged about 139 miles per hour on the tour. Now this was in 2019, so they both have big serves. So I thought it'd be great to do a comparison of these two stars. Currently, they're both in the ready position. Now, this film was taken from 2014 in Cincinnati, but you know, a lot hasn't changed with their serves. The only thing that's really changed is Dominic has changed his racket. He used to play with the head racket. He's now playing with the Bi-lateral racket. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the similarities they have, some of the commonalities, and some things that are different. So let's go ahead and progress the video. Both of them in a strong continental grip. We'll go ahead and look at the take back. This film was shot at 240 frames per second, super slow motion. So some high definition, a lot of details that we can see here. As you can see, as they prepare and take the racket back, both of them are lifting the toes on the front foot, so they're going to that heel. You see some of the pros doing this, some aren't, but both of them do that. In this position is where they get into this 90-10 position. I've talked about this before, so it's just basically the weight transfer. It goes from the front foot to the back foot. Let's go ahead and progress the video. So here's the separation here in the racket takeback. As you can see, Dominic does it a little quicker than Zverev. He really holds the position a little longer. And then this is the bilateral movement. This bilateral movement, it can be a little bit challenging for beginners to do this at first, but this is really where the left arm goes up and the racket kind of lags behind. As you can see, Dominic is a little quicker with his backswing. As you can tell, like with Zverev, where he is, look where his racket head is as his tossing arm is going up. Look where Dominic Thiem's racket is already. So Zverev really holds this position a little longer. Let's go ahead and take the video back. There's where Dominic releases the toss, and Zverev is still got that racket out in front as he releases the toss. Now remember, one thing that's very important is when the pros release their toss, it's usually at the top of the head, you know, the forehead, top of the head. So let's watch Dominic when he releases his toss. It's right in that area where he's letting go. And then let's look at Zverev when he releases his toss, same thing, right at the top of that head or just above it. So in that area. The other thing to keep in mind, if some of you are having problems with your tosses, if you notice with both pros, they really are releasing with the shoulder. The elbow and the wrist joints aren't really active when they're tossing. What they're doing is, you see, it really comes from the shoulder. The other thing to keep in mind is when they're releasing the toss, they're doing it like right around 1 o'clock. And that ensures that the ball is out in the court and that the weight's going forward. All right, so here's that bilateral movement. The toss is released. Rackets are going to begin to start going back. Look at the the separation that Dominic gets from his body as well. You see that where he really gets that elbow away from the body. As you can see, Zverev is starting to do the same thing here. One other thing, as they release the toss, one thing to keep in mind, and all the great servers do it, as an instructor I like to use this as a cue. When you release that toss, that's your opportunity to get balanced. So as you watch, all that weight right now is really on the back foot, and then toss is released. Here's where the pros get balanced, here in this position, and then they're ready to turn and launch and go into the ball. So let's go ahead and progress the video. One other big difference here too is if you notice in this position, notice how Dominic Thiem's really showing his back to the target. Zverev does get a good shoulder turn, but not as pronounced. So if you see Dominic, he kind of coils a little more than Zverev does. The other thing to notice too is when they get into this trophy pose, look at how Dominic goes beyond horizontal. I'm sorry, not horizontal, parallel with the arm. So rather than being straight up, let's look at Zverev as he really gets into this position here. He's a little bit more vertical here, and then Dominic actually goes beyond vertical with his non-hitting arm. So it's really, really pronounced. The other thing too is just notice how Dominic gets this, kind of gets this the shape here with the hip, where he really bows out that left hip, so a little bit more pronounced there. I mean, you can see Zverev's doing it, but not as pronounced as Dominic. So anyway, they get into this trophy pose, and then the other difference here is just notice how Dominic does move his back foot forward a little bit, but he stays in what's called a platform stance. What I mean by platform is the feet are apart. I kind of like to, when I do this, I kind of think about like if you were going to try to jump as high as you could, you're going to keep your feet apart. If you watched Zverev, he actually has a pinpoint where he brings the feet together. I kind of feel with the pinpoint you can launch pretty well with this, but it's really going to assist more with, you can launch, but you're going to be able to turn on the ball a little bit more, so that's where he's getting his power. But just some little nuances between their two serves, and thought I'd point that out for you. You know, I guess I'd like to hear your comments. I mean, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the platform? Do you prefer the pinpoint stance? And what are the benefits for each? So if you could put those in the comment section below, I'd really be interested in hearing what your thoughts are on that. So let's get into this trophy pose. One other thing too is, I mean, when you see both pros in this trophy pose, notice the knee bend from Dominic compared to Zverev. I mean, definitely Dominic uses his legs more so than Zverev does in this video. Dominic is shorter. I think he's like 6'2". Zverev is like 6'6". So Dominic does use those legs a little more than Zverev. It's going to launch a little more so as well. So there's the trophy pose, classic position where that racket head is up, the non-hitting arm is up, and now he's preparing, both players are going to prepare to launch up and out into the court. This is probably the one of the big keys that the pros do so well, is this launching phase where they actually go up into the ball. This is a challenge for a lot of novice players or juniors who maybe, if you're looking to enhance your serve, I would highly encourage you to work on, you know, getting into this loading phase where you're really getting that trophy pose, and then launching. Just starting to utilize your legs and the hip and shoulder turn to go up into the ball. Let's look at Zverev's trophy pose. So racket head is starting to get vertical. Non-hitting arm is up. He's got good load in the legs and the knees, and he's ready to uncoil as well. All right, let's go ahead and look at the rotation and the racket drop. There's the let's go back a little bit. There's the racket drop. So classic position here. So here, let's take a look here. So notice how the racket's back is down, the elbow is up, and now they're starting to turn, so the hips and shoulders are going to start facing the contact point, or the court. So same thing here with Zverev. Look at that racket drop. So very limber, very relaxed, right? You have to have a relaxed grip. The more relaxed you are, the better that the racket's going to work for you. So they've got, you can tell that they're very loose. They're starting to launch here, so notice how their legs are starting to straighten out here, and they're ready to go up into the ball. All right, let's go ahead. Now here's the other thing too, and if you want to generate more power on your serve, notice how the pros here lead with the edge of the racket. You see how they lead with the edge? So you almost are gonna, it almost feels like you're gonna throw that edge of the racket at the ball, and then the racket will naturally square up to the ball. So there they are. There's the extension, the launch. Notice how Zverev comes off the ground nicely. Dominic Thiem does the same. The contact's off a little bit here, but as you can see, look at that extension and how they're coming off the ground. They're really elevating nicely, they're getting that good contact point nice and high, and then that ball is going to be coming down and into the court. So good extension, good launch here. There's the pronation. Notice how they finish on the right side of the body and then bring the racket across. So classic position there. And then here's the other thing. Notice how that back leg kind of kicks back and helps to counterbalance here. And one thing I really like that Dominic does in this video is notice where he's landing in the court. That's another big issue for novices and players, is that they're not getting that ball out in the court enough. You know, they're falling back behind the baseline. Both pros here are landing in the court on that front foot. So I highly encourage you, if that's another thing you're struggling with, is let's really work on, you know, tossing at 1 o'clock, getting the ball into the court, and making sure that when you launch, you're landing on that front foot out in the court. And then there's the finish where they bring that racket across the body. One other little difference here is notice how Dominic finishes with that left arm going back. Similar to Andy Murray does the same thing with his finish. Zverev has the classic where he just kind of keeps that left arm. It doesn't kick back. It kind of tucks in. So anyway, all in all, I hope you enjoy the video. Please leave your comments below. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on their serves. Both of them are going to be playing in the U.S. Open Men's Final 2020 soon. So I thought this would be a great video to bring out. So one of my biggest questions was, could Dominic Thiem ever win a Grand Slam? He's got a great chance when he plays against Zverev in the finals. So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.